All right, yo, what's going on? It's your boy Between the Gang Sports back again. And before we get started, if you're on Facebook, like and share the page, like and share the show, and then go over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell button to get those notifications every time we're going live. And man, we got another great show. This time, I believe we're out in West Memphis, Arkansas, home of Arkansas State Mid-South, man, that's a long name, University. And we have the head coach, women's coach, Coach Mercedes Corona. Coach, what's going on?
Not much. How are y'all?
I'm good, man. Just getting used to working again. It's been an adventure, but what can we do about it? So
yeah.
But let's jump right into it. Give the people a little background about yourself.
Well, I know you had interviewed Austin Falke once before. I'm from the same area he's from.
Okay.
Thorndale was a huge rival for us back when I was in high school. I went to Granger High School. So very small town, probably about 1,200 people. I think now they're considered 2A. We were 1A back when I was in school, back in the day. But grew up there, went K through 12th grade. I love the environment. I mean, we grew up with each other. So growing up, we played sports with each other. Most of us were related. We were family. So we kind of had that extra bond. So when it came to sports, it was something to where, we had a different bond. So, we could talk to each other a certain way and we would respond in a positive way instead of taking it, offensive or anything like that. So I think that's what set us apart from a lot of teams. But grew up there. Good family, mom and dad, very supportive. They were always there. Dad works for Coca-Cola, mom, just kind of a housewife and whatnot. So, good family life. Played AAU basketball out of Georgetown, Texas for the Fury. Organization is still going. I coached for them 1 year, one summer. I think that's where I got a lot of exposure. I was coached by Carrie Brinkater, Deborah Wills, Cassandra Bills at some point in time. So, a lot of great coaches that I was able to play under and whatnot. Carrie Brinkater was actually a coach at Blinn, and she coached at Southwestern for a little bit. Actually got to coach against her, I believe, when I was at Howard Payne. So kind of went full circle there. Actually ended up going to a very small school in Kerrville, Texas, Shriner University. Coming from a small community, small town, small school to where, my graduating class was, 44 people. So for me, going to a big school, really, I don't think it would have fit me very well. So I chose to go to a smaller school. And at the time, me and the coach, we created a great, bond and relationship through the recruiting process. So, I chose to go there over a few other schools that were recruiting me that, Division II school and whatnot out of San Antonio. So I think it was the best decision for me. Ended up being coached by Matt Wallace, who is at Concordia now, and Tamaine Wright, who was at UTD. I think he's at Iowa Wesleyan now, if I'm not mistaken. Both good coaches. They definitely helped shape me in my coaching career. As much as they don't think they did, they did. Got to coach against Matt, when I was at Howard Payne. So, like I said, it kind of goes full circle. Played softball as well in high school. Most people would say I was probably better at softball than I was basketball, but basketball was definitely my sport. Like I said, growing up, Dad was always around, so I would go with him to, pick up games. I was a gym rat, just as much as he was. Growing up in the gym and everything, and then growing up, you get to start playing with the boys. The guys will start letting you play with them and everything. So I kind of think my game kind of represents that a little bit, and my IQ, especially going into coaching. That definitely helps my IQ. I see the game a little bit differently, I think, and it's definitely helped in the recruiting process and making that transition from player to coach, it was definitely different. Something that I just don't think anybody's ever ready for. It takes a lot of maturity and a lot of growth to actually do that.
Absolutely. You just spoke about softball. It's weird because I was a better baseball player than I was basketball, but I love basketball from the start. I mean, my dad is on here. He just made a comment and said hello. But just basketball, as soon as I touched it, I loved it. What position did you play?
In high school, I played point guard. Moving into college, I played a shooting guard. I was point guard was for me. I was just a little bit slower. So, I was a quick shot. I had a quick trigger. To this day, I still have a quick trigger. I'll get out and practice with our girls, and we'll do closeouts. Hey, coach, how you get that ball up there quick? And for me, it was just getting shots up. So that's what really made me a shooting guard. Did play point guard for a little bit in college, but I really stuck to that shooting guard position. So
Okay, same position as me. So and then you just kind of fell in love with the game and then developed. And did you go to a GA spot, or I mean, what led
I
you into
did.
coaching?
I actually ended up graduating early from Shriner University, a semester early, because I took dual credit when I was in college or in high school. So I
Hmm.
actually entered college with 12 credits. So
Okay.
graduated a semester early. So I needed an internship to graduate. So I ended up just foregoing my senior year and actually doing, taking a GA position with the school that I played for. Kind of helped with recruiting. Kind of just had my hand in a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
Which before that, I knew I wanted to go into coaching. At first, I wanted to coach high school ball. So going into college, I was actually a math education major. Um, but I took my first calculus class. My first class was calculus.
Oh Lord.
I went into my calculus class. I said, this might not be for me. So I went straight to the
Uh-huh.
registrar's office and changed my major to kinesiology. And a lot of people thought it was crazy. Even my mom and dad were like, "Well, you kind of need that education background to fall back on. What if college coaching doesn't work out? That's not where the
Hmm.
money's at." And they were concerned about that part. Like I said, they knew what I wanted to do, so they kind of supported me, and it kind of just fell into place. After Shriner, going through grad school, I was in grad school for a summer session, and then actually in July, I got hired by Howard Payne University as the assistant coach. So that last year of grad school, I was actually a full-time assistant at another school and going to grad school at a different school. So it was definitely tough. I mean, my head coach would come into the office and just be like, "Did you even leave? Are you tired? You've been doing homework?" So because I would probably stay up there till about 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock doing homework, just trying to finish things, and then when season started, trying to finish scouting reports and kind of just do my assistant duties and everything. But so in the sense of GA role, I really genuinely feel like my first year as an assistant was my real GA year.
Hmm.
But coaching was always something I wanted to do, and everybody knew it. And then going through high school, playing that point guard position, and being from such a small school, my coach, he kind of just gave me full range on the court, and it was kind of one of those Mike Neighbors and Kelsey Plum relationships to where timeouts, he would ask me what I see or what I think we should do, and we would talk about it. And he kind of shaped me into that coach, whether he thinks it or not.
Uh-huh.
He kind of shaped me into that and actually made me want to actually pursue it as a career.
Oh, absolutely. It's always good to kind of find those coaches that see something that in yourself
Oh
that
yeah.
that you might not see in yourself. So, that's kind of how my coach was in college, Coach Casper. I actually kind of had the same path, man. I was a math minor, and I got to like trigonometry or something. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, hold on.
Oh yeah.
So I was a kinesics major, and then I went over to a psychology minor. But those math classes in college are
They're different.
definitely they'll make you change your mind, as you
Oh
can
yeah.
see. So you kind of had a different path into coaching. Now you're the head coach at Arkansas State Mid-South University. What kind of led you there? And tell us a little bit about the campus life. Where is West Memphis, Arkansas, and things like that?
What led me here was, I mean, I had been an assistant for 5 years.
Mhm.
Our head coach at the time was, I think, for 2 years. She was pregnant. She was pregnant one year, so I kind of had to take over for a little bit, and then she was pregnant another year. Kind of had to take over for a little bit. Once you start trying to take over, you move that 36 inches over. So that head coaching role, you kind of just start feeling yourself a little bit, and you're like, all right, maybe I am ready for this.
Mhm.
After that 5 years there, I kind of wanted to just test the waters. And I did start applying for jobs, and I was fortunate enough to get a call from Chris Parker, who is the AD men's basketball coach here. Um, he's from Texas as well. Our assistant coach is from Texas, so we kind of brought a little taste of Texas to Arkansas. But it was more of, I guess, just time and opportunity for me. Timing was right for me. I knew I was ready to make that jump. Well, I thought I was ready to make that jump.
Mhm.
He called, had the interview. Came up here, got to see West Memphis for a little bit. I think it was maybe a week later or so they called and asked me for my college transcript, and I was like, "Well, did I get the job?" But luckily, I got it. And it's been a blessing. It's been a huge blessing to come here. As far as administration, faculty, even the A State system board president, everything. They've just been amazing with making that transition. Moving 9 hours away from everything that I've ever known. 9 hours away from family. So it's been a lot of support, especially, you know, trying to rebuild something. When I got here, it was down in the dumps. So we've been having to rebuild, and, you know, first year was a little rough. We definitely faced a lot of adversity going into last year, which was the second year. We made a lot of strides. I know our record doesn't show it, but if you've known the history of the women's basketball program here, you know it was a lot of strides made. And, you know, as much as the outside people didn't see it, I think the school and the administration and, you know, everybody saw it. That was a part of it. They saw the energy change. They saw the culture change, which was the big thing that I really want to focus on. You know, trying to come here and be and make this successful was the culture. You know, just change it, make it more positive. And that started with the student athletes coming in, and started with recruiting, which this place kind of sells itself. I don't know if you go to ASUMidSouthSports.com, look at the facilities, look at the pictures. I've been to numerous JUCOs, played at numerous JUCOs, just in scrimmages. I mean, even last year we took a trip to Texas, and, you know, a lot of our girls walked into the gym and were like, "Coach, we're very fortunate." Yes, we are. We are very fortunate over here. I mean, our locker room is, you know, I have a lot of kids come in with their coaches, and they're like, "Man, we played D1 ball, and our locker room doesn't even look this nice." I mean, we have a D1 setup in our locker room. We have cable TV in our locker room. We have 2 Vertimax machines that we utilize every week. We have shooting guns that the girls can and the guys can come in and utilize. Facility-wise, like I said, we have everything that you could ever need, you know, in order to prosper and grow as a player. Campus is very small, which it's a positive, especially coming, you know, to a junior college where it is a stepping stone. So with it being very small, it's a tight-knit community. My girls, sometimes they tend to not like it. I love it as a coach because, you know, if they're 5 minutes late, or even if they're 2 minutes late, I'm getting the email real quick from teachers saying the player was late, or, you know, even if it's something as, "Hey, coach, your kid is struggling in this class. I want to set up, you know, a tutoring session with this kid," or, you know, "Would you mind having a meeting with me?" You know, that's the kind of communication I get. And I've worked in a place before to where it was something as simple as signing a progress report and putting a grade down. And they didn't want to do it because they thought they said it was outside of their contract. So, you know, it was outside of their, you know, teacher duties and everything. So for me coming here, it was a breath of fresh air, just because, you know, I think the school was really behind trying to get the women's program to where the men's program is. And our men's program is very successful. If you look it up, I think they've won Region 4 out of the last 5 years. They went to national tournament and placed 5th a couple years ago. Coach Parker has sent numerous guys to go play D1 ball. So, you know, just trying to follow in their footsteps, and just kind of just get the program back where it needs to be. And like I said, the school sells itself. If you come here, it's a very, very beautiful campus. A lot of people don't even know it's here. So when they actually come here and take the visit, they're like, "Man, we didn't know this was here. This is actually really, really nice," you know? Like I said, it's fairly small. It's nice. The athletics facilities are great. But what really sells it is the support and the administration and teachers, and, I mean, everything else that comes with it. Like I said, student athletes are never going to feel unwelcome here.
So what does it take as far as GPA and test scores? What does it take to get in?
Junior college is a little different. You know, I try and at least get those kids that have the ACT of at least a 20. You know, sometimes you get the lower ACT scores and lower GPA, but that's what JUCO's for. You know, you try and get them that stepping stone and that associate's degree to kind of ease them into college. I have kids on my team that have, you know, 23 ACTs and high. One of them I think got a 25 ACT, 27 ACT. Wow. Yeah, so we're not, you know, it's not in a sense of recruiting those kids that don't have the grades. Some of the kids actually have really good GPAs coming out of high school. They just didn't get the looks they wanted, so they wanted to come here and play basketball and just grow a little bit and see if they can get other looks. Some of them needed to come to a junior college to get their grades right and to learn how to just, you know, be a college student, learn how to study, learn how to do homework, learn how to just do different things. Because I know coming out of high school, I didn't know any of those things, especially coming from a small school.
Absolutely.
I mean, and going to a 4-year school, it was hard. I had to teach myself how to study. I remember getting a phone call. I was at a soccer game, and I got a phone call from my coach saying, "You need to get back to campus right now. Your grade in biology is horrible." And I'm like, "I thought I was doing okay." Like, I looked over my notes, but, you know, it was in a sense of I had to teach myself a lot. I had to study, had to, you know, time management and everything. And I think JUCO does a good job of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you spoke about certain JUCOs in Texas. I've been to some JUCOs in Texas, and oh my God, they're worse than some some high school facilities. So you guys seem to be very blessed and fortunate. And so I'm looking you guys up, and I'm trying to find it and trying to find the closest big city, and then I finally see the mascot, and I'm like, Greyhounds, like,
Yeah.
what is that about? So what do you know the story behind, like, how did
You
they get
actually,
the name of Arkansas
yeah.
State being South Greyhound?
The Greyhound came from, actually, we have a casino here, Southland Greyhound or Southland Casino.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I think, one of the last casinos to have Greyhound racing.
Okay.
And actually, the person at the time that owned the casino actually helped fund, start the athletics program and help fund this whole everything, just help fund the athletics program, the facilities, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the Greyhounds came from, was because of the racetrack and the Greyhound racing down at the casino. They don't have, I think they got rid of it, I think last year, or are getting rid of it, but that's where it came from. It's a very interesting story. I wish our AD was in here. That's his story that he loves to tell. He goes in more in depth with it, but that's where it came from. It came from the casino here that just helped fund this whole program.
Okay. Well, that was just an interesting thing. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
man, let me make sure I ask about that. So, and then you spoke about getting the right recruits and trying to get the program to another level. When you're out and about and you're at, I don't know if you got out to AAU games this year. It's been a
It
total
did.
mess with COVID.
Oh yeah.
But when you're out and about and the first thing you sit down, you got your pad, you got your notes, and what is one of the first things you're looking at for recruits and how they interact with their teammates? What type of recruits do you look for when you're
Number
out
one
and about?
thing, as an individual and as a player, I just look for some grit. Now you gotta have some grit, to play
Mhm.
at this level. Whether it be at a junior college or whether it be at a 4-year school, if you don't have some grit to you, some passion with it, it's gonna be tough. You genuinely got to come in and have some grit and have some thick skin
Absolutely.
for whoever you play for. Whether it be a coach that's just very blunt and hard on you, whether you have a coach that's patient. You gotta have some thick skin because you're gonna face some adversity. So, like I said, first thing I look for is some thick skin and some grit. I'd rather have the kid that's gonna dive on the floor about 15 times for a loose ball, than the
Hmm.
kid that's gonna try and look cool and score 20 points, but they're not doing nothing to help their team. We are a very defensive oriented team, so first thing I do is look for defense. Our defense is a little different. We force everything baseline. This year we're icing our screener to we're not letting them utilize that screen. Keep everything in the middle of the paint. We're fronting the post this year, so it's going to be a little bit different. So IQ is another thing I look for. I know it sounds crazy because a lot of people have the stereotype that junior college kids are just athletic. They score a lot of points. They don't play defense. They don't have
Hmm.
the basketball IQ. It's not true at all. My point guard that came in this year, I mean, she has a great basketball IQ. She'll make some passes. I didn't even think she saw it. I was hoping she
Uh,
saw it, but she
yeah.
didn't. Just thus far, and the 8 hours a week that we get when we let them play pickup. I mean, she's got some IQ to her, and that's what you want in a point guard. My other point guard that's returning as a sophomore, I mean, the kid is just smart. I can put her probably anywhere on the court, and she's probably going to make a play.
Hmm.
Has a great mid-range game. So, and then I think basketball IQ is probably another thing I look for, just because, like I said, in our system, we ran the same system somewhat when I was at Howard Payne. I just tweaked it a little bit. So, coming from a 4-year school, you got to have some IQ to you. And then, like I tell most of our girls that come in on recruiting visits, if you want to play after this, you have to develop a basketball IQ. It's not something to where you say, well, this player did this and this player did this. You gotta give me some basketball terms at some point.
Uh,
Because going into a 4-year school, it's gonna be a little bit different. They're gonna ask for certain things, and they're gonna ask you certain things. They're gonna want you to know certain things. So and being coachable. You know, Myself, me and my assistant have a good system of being good guy, bad guy. When he gets on him, I'm there to hear, kind of correct them in a more soft way when I get on him. And, he has a good way of doing that too. Like I said, we work well together. But having some thick skin for me and, being able to just take the adversity with it. No coach is going to be chill or calm 24/7. There are going to be times where, there's going to come some criticism, some instruction. They're going to take it one way or the other.
uh,
Um, I think our girls have a good way of, they know me, through the recruiting process. I definitely develop a relationship with them. It's not something to where I talk to them once or twice and they commit to come here. It's a month long, it's months where you're talking to them and developing that relationship to where when they finally get on campus, they know you. So they know how you're going to react to certain things. They know your personality. I know their personality. I know it works with them and I know it doesn't work with them. I think that's the biggest thing with me is being able to have a player that, wants to develop that relationship. Because there'll be some players I get on the phone and they will not talk to me for nothing. And I don't know if it's just them being shy.
just used to doing this. That's
Yeah,
all.
they just want to check. So, and that's another thing that I try and preach when they come here. Uh, you're never gonna leave here not being ready for the real world. And like I tell them, you might not want to talk now. You might be quiet as I'll get out now, but when you get into the real world, you have to learn to talk to people. You have to learn to be personable. So, we try and preach that on them, talking and saying things, with their chest when they're trying to be leaders and everything, instead of being quiet, trying to say it and being put on the spot. I put a lot of them on the spot, in practice. When I ask a question, they answer it and they kind of whisper it to me. And I'm like, well, what'd you say? They kind of take some, authority and own it. And I think, when they come here, they leave better basketball players, but they also leave better people. So, but, in that recruiting process, it's a lot. I mean, I look at social media. I mean, I've had a lot of kids that I stopped looking at because of social media, especially recently with everything going on with, social injustice and everything. And it was a lot of kids that I stopped looking at just because of the stuff that they would post on their social media. It was, whether it be, profanity, whether it be anything, it was just stuff that, what we're trying to do here, that's not what you want to represent your program. And I know if I were to get that kid here, would that 4-year school want them to represent their program? Probably not. It's one of those things too.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke about having thick skin and having that grit. Tell kids all the time, man. Each level that you go to, it gets a little tougher, and then you don't have a coach that's getting on you. You're more than likely on your way out the door.
Yeah.
So it's I'm glad that you said that, and continue to build your program the way that you want it. And it seems like your administration is totally behind what you're trying to do. And I played against some JUCO dudes, and I played D1, and I tell people all the time, those JUCO dudes are some of the toughest dudes I ever played in my life. And it's just like, they're like, man, but you play D1. I'm like, bruh, like you don't understand. Like these dudes are trying to get somewhere. They don't really want to go there 2 years or so, especially that first year. They're really trying to get it in. So let's speak about some of your freshmen. When you get your freshmen in, and I don't know if they come in the summer or come in through the fall. What is their biggest hurdle transferring their game from high school over to collegiate basketball?
I think the biggest thing is just understanding that at this point in time, you're not the big dog on campus anymore. I mean, like I tell all of them, you were the best kid on your team, which is, why you got recruited, why you're here. It's not like that anymore. You have to work sometimes harder. It's gonna be harder. It's gonna be faster. Kids are gonna look like sticks. They're gonna be fast. And they're gonna be strong. And I don't think they really understood that, especially my freshmen when they came in. They're like, man, I got this. Like, we're this, and this. And, I do have a kid on my team. She's 5'10". She's not very big at all. I mean, she's put on, I think since we got here in August, we've been at the weights for 6 weeks. This week is week 6. I mean, and she's put on, I think 10 pounds, and she still looks like a stick. She'll be trying to flex the weight room. Be like, Coach, you see this? I'm like, man, you look like SpongeBob in that one the episode where he was trying to lift weights. But I mean, if you get her out on the court, I mean, she's just going full speed at it. And one of the girls was like, man, Coach, I fouled her and she put up, she still got the N1. I'm like, yeah, it is different here. And I said, the grind is a little bit different. And, I was just talking to my AD today about it. And I said, man, my sophomores have just matured so much. And I said, not just in their personality, but I said on the court. I mean, my post player last year, I mean, she could barely walk and breathe at the same time without falling. I mean, I remember it was tough sometimes, and body control was tough. And, she came back in the fall, and when we were playing pickup, I mean, she's just making grown woman moves. Like, it was crazy. And she has body control. She's not doing too much. I mean, and it's the same with my, the kid I was just telling you about that's a stick. I mean, I think last year if she wouldn't have got hurt, she may have been one and done and probably got, a scholarship somewhere. I was fortunate enough that she came back this year, but, I mean, she's matured. She's from Killeen, Texas, so they are a little different than 254. But, I think she came in this year with something to prove. She came back at the last half of last year playing on a bone bruise on her ankle. She was just like, well, take me up. I got it. Give me some ibuprofen. She played through it. But, I think last year our loss at region, it was the one that really hit her. We ran a play with 30 seconds left to try and tie the game, and she missed the 3, and we ended up losing. And I think that really stuck with her. And I think it stuck with me as well. But like I told her, that's not what lost the game. That's what just would have saved the game. I don't think she understood it at that time, which I think is a good thing, just because I think it did motivate her going into this year. But she's just stepped up as a leader. Another one of our kids, she's from Springdale. came in she was a stick. I mean, she was, even in the recruiting process, I was like, do you want to play basketball? But she ended up getting first team all region last year and shooting. I can't remember, but she had the highest 3-point percentage on the team, and she got player of the region a few weeks, and but she just stepped up. And even coming in, her work ethic in the weight room last year, she hated it, but her work ethic in the weight room, she's pushing. One of our transfers that came in, and it's crazy just to see how they mature. And that's the biggest thing. But yeah.
That quick turnaround from the freshman year over to the sophomore year, and you only get them for 2 years, max. How hard is it, to build that relationship, to build the chemistry, the bond and philosophy, knowing that you only get them for 2 years?
That's been the biggest challenge for me. I was at a 4-year school before this, and I was very, very fortunate and very, very blessed to have coached some amazing players, both basketball players and people. I mean, I loved being around them. I mean, they would come by our office and, talk and just, watch film with us, chill, all that good stuff. But I had them for 4 years. I got to enjoy them for 4 years. I got to help them develop for 4 years. So that's been the biggest challenge for me. Trying to develop the relationship over those 2 years. It's definitely different. But I think, it comes from a little give and take from both sides. I have an open door policy. So if they ever just want to come in here and do homework, or if they ever just want to come in here and be like, Coach, I'm bored, what you got going on? I think that's the biggest thing. They trust me. I trust them. Like I told them, if I were to go to war with anybody, y'all gonna be the ones coming with me. So let's just go ahead and make this thing work. But that is a huge challenge, having, not only just because you don't want to lose those kids after those 2 years, but if you had them for 4, that you could develop them into such great players, but you only have them for 2 years. So, but we've implemented a lot of individual work these past few weeks in our practices and the 8 hours a week that we get. So it does take up a little bit more time, but I think it has helped a lot. That's another thing. When I came from a Division III school, we really didn't have a time limit in preseason. We just couldn't teach them basketball. They could condition, they could do strength in every, weight room and everything, but we just couldn't teach them basketball. So that's been a big challenge too. But now that I do get the 8 hours a week, trying to balance everything, trying to get them in shape, trying to get them in the weight room, trying to, teach them basketball and try to prepare them for everything, especially, with COVID and everything. It's been difficult. But, I think for me and my players, like I said, developing that relationship on the phone and through FaceTime and everything through the recruiting process. So when they get here and then as sophomores, I just think, I like to consider myself one of those coaches that's very personable. We talk all the time. They know they can come in here. We just develop a relationship. It even comes down to the point to where, like I said, I'll practice with them sometimes. I mean, prime example is today we did a conditioning drill and, we were odd numbered. So I was like, you know what, I'll just make it even since we have to be partners. So I'll get in with you. So it's not like they're, going through everything by themselves. I'll go through it with them sometimes. When they're in the weight room, I'll lift with them sometimes. It's something like that to where they see your coach going through it. They're like, all right, well, coach got this. So now she's going through it with this. I mean, I'll be dying, but, I think they appreciate it a little bit more. And they're like, all right, well, coach got us, in this sense. So she's going to be dying. So we're going to be dying too. But, it comes from a little bit of give and take, learning how to talk to them, just learning, who they are, and just genuinely trying to get to know them. I know for me in the recruiting process, I see him playing high school. I see him playing AAU ball. So when it comes down to the recruiting process, yes, we talk basketball, but it's more about getting to know them, their background, their family. So when they get here, if they've been through some things, well, you have to love them a little bit more and love them a little bit differently. So, I think it's in the sense of that to where that sets me apart from a lot. Like I said, it is about basketball, but at the end of the day, I want to get to know them as a person, before anything else. So they know I genuinely care for them. And they know I care for them. So, every day, I tell them I love them every day. They probably don't like to hear it, but,
Yeah, some kids probably have never even heard anyone tell them that you love them. You just spoke about drills, man. And I remember this drill that we had in college, and to this day, I still hate it. But I teach it to my players when I do AAU or whatever. I'm gonna throw this out there. Any drill that you do with your kids and you just see their expressions like, man, not this again.
Full court layups. Oh, they hate full court layups. And it's such a simple drill, but it just puts a little bit of pressure on them. I mean, they're running full speed down and back, trying to make 20. Well, I make them make 2 layups apiece on the right side and 2 layups apiece on the left side. So some of them poor babies, they feel that pressure, and especially when you start adding in the pad and trying to hit them a little bit, and they still got to make 22 in a row, however many. And that when you tell them they got to make 22 in a row, that's when they start sweating a little bit. Like, man, coach, you really got to do this. So every time I say that drill or Argentina passing drill, it's just a warm up drill to get them going. They know they got to run a lot through that drill, so it's one of those drills that they genuinely despise, and I just see their demeanor just go, and I'm like, man, just get through it. It's 35 seconds. It's perfect.
Exactly, man.
You'll be all right.
Exactly. Something as simple as a layup is what causes kids stress. We had a drill called continuity, and you basically went up and down the court 6 times. You would have rebounded twice, you would have outlet twice, you had to go up the middle twice, and you had to make 2 layups before you got off. So as a team, you had to make like 33 in a row in 3 minutes. And if the drill went correctly, the last layup was going in with 1 second left. And it was just, and I still hate it to this day. And it's just like, wow. So I remember those drills, man, but I teach it to kids. So those kids that become coaches, they might be doing your drills one day.
I always tell them, I said, it's all fun and games until y'all are going to call me. Because I had some of my former players call me like, man, coach, we did this, this, and this. Or some of them, we did this drill. And I was like, now I see why you would always laugh when you would say that drill. I was like, yeah, now you see it. So there'd be some drills I call and I just start laughing because, or if they see me getting the pad out of the equipment room, like, man, coach about to just work us. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. But, so.
But they chose to be a basketball player, and you chose to play. You chose to do this. Yep. And that was our motto. I'm pretty sure up there during Christmas break is probably pretty rough. I'll probably get a little more cold weather, but in Nacogdoches, that was our motto leaving the dorms on Christmas break. Everybody else is gone. It's just the basketball teams pretty much was like, man, you know what? We chose to do this, so might as well get it done. Junior college basketball in general, I usually ask coaches, what about the current state of collegiate basketball, but what are your thoughts on collegiate basketball, junior college basketball?
In the sense of COVID and how they handled everything, or just in general?
Everything.
Right now, I can praise the NJCAA and the way they handled everything with COVID and pushing the seasons back. They were very steadfast and very, very content and very poised with it. They had a plan set. I think it was a great plan to, move everything to the spring and, allow those 5 scrimmages in the fall and have 60 consecutive practice days. Like I said, they were very steadfast, and I do nothing but praise them for it. I think they probably made the best decision, the quickest decision, and I think it was the best decision. Because now you don't have coaches sitting there, wondering if I'm going to have a season, am I not going to have a season? What's my preseason going to look like? What's my season going to look like? So like I said, for us as basketball coaches, and I think I can speak for any coach in the NJCAA, they definitely appreciate it because, we have a plan. We know what's going on. We're not sitting there, twiddling our thumbs, waiting to see what happens. So like I said, I can do nothing but praise the NJCAA for, just handling the COVID situation the way that they did. That's basically, everything. And then, when you get to, the state of college basketball and the talent level and everything, I did not expect Arkansas to be as big of a basketball state as it is. I should have known with my neighbors being from Arkansas, but man, when I tell you recruiting here is fun. I can go out to a game and, just the talent level and the love that they have for basketball. I'm going to put it this way. Basketball is for Arkansas what football is for Texas. And being a basketball coach, you genuinely love it because you see all the love given to basketball. I got to see players like Alana Eaton play this year. I wish she would have, I wish I could have recruited her, but she's at U of A now. Being in Texas, you hear a lot of people say, man, that kid's not that good. She's from a different state. Texas is built a little different. Texas is built a little different. But, I mean, some of these kids, they're just smooth, and it's just because it's such a basketball state. You got a lot of basketball families here. I mean, even on the boys' side. This year, our men's team has, 6A state champion, MVP, all that. Like I said, the talent level, here is just so different. I can say it's just different. Like I said, I love going out recruiting just because it is different. But I think recruiting in this day and age is a little different. Like I said, sometimes, I'm very real upfront with my kids that I am recruiting. Some of them don't want that coach that's going to be hard on them. Some of them don't want that coach that's going to be, for lack of a better word, blunt with them. I like to tell them, I'll praise you, but at the same time, you really want me to praise you 100 times when you do 100 things right, or would you rather me correct the one thing that you did wrong or the 20 things that you did wrong to fix your game? And I think that's the difference between, just the state of college basketball these days, with the transfer portal being as high as it is. I don't have to deal with it. God willing, I'm a D1 coach one day. I know I'll have to deal with it. But like I said, I just think it's a little different with the transfer portal being, implemented and being in there and like how many kids are in it. I think college basketball will forever be something that needs to be had. I know a lot of people feel like it's cheating the system and everything, but college basketball is one of those things that gives kids that, aren't, 5-star prospects going to the NBA or WNBA, a stepping stone to get an education, a stepping stone to continue playing basketball. And, I get it. A lot of people, like I said, think people are, the NCAA or anything like that is cheating the system with the money and everything. But let's be real. A lot of these kids need college. A lot of these kids from bad backgrounds, they need that college scholarship to continue to play and continue to, maybe they're not going to go be an NBA star or a WNBA star, but maybe they're going to go be a doctor and, change the world or something like that. So it's something like that. Like I said, a lot of people say it's cheating the system and you have the transfer portal and people think kids are entitled. And, sometimes it's the truth. Sometimes you just don't know the situation that they're in. Sometimes they went to the wrong school and they just chose the wrong coach. It wasn't the right system. Maybe they thought it was, and it just wasn't.
It happens. It happens, man. You just spoke about Arkansas basketball. I didn't know how good Arkansas. I didn't travel much AAU, and I try to get kids to understand now. Like, you may be the best in your city, region, whatever, but there's 50 other states, and then now they're going across seas to get players. And one of my college teammates, he's from Helena, Arkansas, I believe. And this dude can shoot, man. Like, he can really shoot it. And then he spoke about, he didn't get to the NBA, but now he's a principal. So him going into JUCO to Stephen F. Austin, now he's a principal out of Nacogdoches, and that would have never happened if it wasn't for somebody coming out there to recruit him and getting to see him. So
Arkansas basketball is different. Like I said, I mean, out of Jonesboro, there was one kid. Like I said, one kid signed, two different high schools, but out of the same town. One kid signed to go to University of Arkansas. The other one signed to go to Tennessee. I mean, in the same town, you have two kids signing with the SEC. So it's always a little different. And then you have Jersey Wolfenberger out of Fort Smith, who is number one recruit in her class. I mean, she's 6'7" and has handles like a guard. I mean, she's technically a guard. She's 6'7". That's another Kevin Durant on your hands. I mean, like I said, the basketball talent here, they take their basketball very serious. And then with us being, I mean, I'm 15 minutes across the bridge from Memphis.
Okay.
So that's where we're located. And Memphis is the basketball city. Those Memphis kids, like I said, I love Texas, and I will be Texas through and through. But these Arkansas and Memphis kids, and they're just built a little different. Like I said, especially coming from Memphis, they grow up playing on the blacktop, and that's how I grew up playing. So like I said, that like they just built a little bit different. They play, their style of play is a little bit different. It's a little bit more flashy, but their IQ is where it needs to be. And like I said, they come from different backgrounds, but it's good basketball up here. So that's, as a coach, I'm in the perfect area for recruiting.
Okay, so let me get this out there real quick. For those that are watching, man, if you got any questions for Coach, don't be afraid to chime in, and we'll get it up there. We'll put it on the screen, and she'll answer it. And I just want to kind of jump back to something that you spoke on earlier. You have a player that she probably could have been one and done, but she's back, and you said that she missed a shot for you guys to tie in the regional tournament. And I sent this question to you the other day. That's kind of a rough loss. I think you guys lost by 4 in the region semifinals. What has been the motivation for this upcoming season, the 2021 season, since that moment, like since you guys exited the court?
I think my sophomores just felt a lot of disappointment. They felt, my incoming sophomores, they were freshmen last year, but I think they tasted a little bit of what we could have been last year. And there was a lot of adversity last year. There was a lot of different things going on within the team. And we handled it with poise and everything. And, we were young. I mean, I had one sophomore on the team. So I was essentially playing with all freshmen at a high school. I had one transfer, and, she sat out her second semester. So in a sense, I had all freshmen. And I think when you're a freshman, you feel like you have all the time in the world to win games and all the time in the world to, get things right. And I think when it finally came, we were playing our best basketball those last 4 weeks of season. I just saw, I don't know what happened, but, there was a switch that flipped one day for them, for myself, for my assistant. And it was just like, all right, we got this. We're the team that we need to be. I don't know what it was. I mean, we peaked at the beginning of the season and we peaked at the end of the season. We started our season, I think, 3-0, beating St. Louis Community College. We beat Northwest Mississippi and we beat Southwest Mississippi, which both of those are Division I JUCOs, and we're Division II JUCO. So that was big for the program. And then we kind of fell off, and then Christmas break happened, and I absolutely hate Christmas break because they're so ready to go home, they're so ready to go see their family, and they get so many weeks off, and it's always one of those things to where it's a love-hate relationship with the coach. But I think the biggest thing was, they just felt that disappointment. They understood now when I say you can be tired at the end of the season. There's no time to be tired. You got to go full force 24/7 in order to, achieve what you want to. And I think they felt a little more because they did lose and their season was done. They didn't have practice going back on Monday. They didn't have to go to film the next day. They didn't have to go to weights the next day. For them, it was a lot of disappointment. Myself, I mean, that's I took a picture of the scoreboard and it's my background on my phone. So I have a daily reminder of it. As much as I hate it, as much as I despise it, it's a daily reminder, especially for me as a coach, being a head coach. That was the first time I've been to a region, any kind of postseason tournament in 2 years. So for me, it was exciting. For me, it was a big loss just because I know, if some things go right, we should have won the game. But like I said, you can't change it now. But it's been a lot of motivation. It's been a lot of motivation for me. It's been a lot of motivation for them. It's been a lot of motivation for our assistant. I hate to say it, but with that loss came a huge culture shift in what we were trying to do here. I think they finally understood. A lot of it clicked what I was telling them when I said you could be tired after season and you don't have, you don't have time to get it together. You don't have time to figure it out. It's got to be now. So I think that's been the biggest change, and I think that's what led to the maturity. That's what led to the leadership. We have rules implemented every year, as to be, 10 minutes early to every appointment, be 10 minutes early to practice, start stretching here, all this other stuff. And we have a group chat, and, before I could even say it, before we first met, my sophomores were already, putting that in a group chat without me having to say it. For me, that's a sign of, your team coaching your team. It's not always coming from you. It's coming from your leaders. It's coming from your sophomores. We've had a freshman step up a little bit, and speak up a little bit. And, I just think, like I said, I want a player-led team. I want them to be able to coach each other just as much as I coach them. And like I tell them on the back end, I want y'all to be able to coach me just as much as I coach y'all. I'm not going to do it all the time. If you see something different during the game, hey, let's look at this whiteboard real quick and figure it out, and I think I have that. And I think that coming with that, like I said, coming with that loss, we've grown a lot, not only just in maturity as players, as people, as a coaches, with my assistant, but just in the sense of that bond in the family. So it was definitely a tough loss, but like I said, I think it made them work harder in the sense of everything that they're trying. They know that they can do it now. And North Ark was a great team. I mean, good gosh, Savannah Collins on their team, she like that player, she's good. I mean, she hit 1-3 over my head. And my players looked at me and I was like, look, you can't do nothing about that. You better just
absolutely,
keep moving. And North Ark has been one of those teams in our region that has been good for years. I respect Bobby with everything in me, and he's kind of set the bar for junior college women's basketball here in Arkansas. So, we have a good relationship, and I'm just trying to get on that level and just compete with region championships for him. And I think this year with the squad we have, I think even around the region, I think a lot of the schools got good squads this year. Recruiting was good for every school, so it's going to be a good there's going to be a lot of competition this year. But like I said, I would put my squad against anybody this year. So.
Absolutely. My mother, she just said, glad you have that report with players. I'm thinking that she's speaking on, allowing your kids to kind of coach themselves. I'm in education. My mom was in education for the longest, and they always speak about having kids educate, kids teach kids, I guess you can say. When you get that kind of thing going as a coach, like, are you just kind of in awe, or you're in shock, or what is that feeling like?
At first, I'm in shock because I'm like, even when it comes to, the discipline part, I mean, they know they rather that discipline come from their teammates than it come from me in a sense. I mean, we had one kid be late to study hall. So they texted me, they're like, Coach, we're going to do this, this, and this. do, you can still do what you want to do, but this is what we're going to do in the sense of trying to get our team to where it needs to be. This is our discipline for her being late. And they did it as a team, and for me, I was in shock. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Am I talking to the right team? Because I was like, last year, I would have just shied away from it and ducked away from it, trying to, get out of the extra running and everything. Or, and like I tell them, I don't like to be surprised. And they learned that last year. I better not be surprised with anything. Y'all better tell me straight up front, what happened, this, and this. Because if I ask you, it's most likely I already know. And they learned. But like I said, we were young last year. So this year coming into it, yes, I was in shock when it happened at the beginning of the year. But now it's something that, like I say, I am in awe with it. Like I appreciate it. I love it. I think the most successful programs are player-led programs. I think they have a voice. I think they got to coach each other just as much as I have to coach them, and they have to coach me just as much as I coach them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Holding each other accountable is always something that every coach wants on their team. And we have a question from April Showers. She went to high school with me. She said, if you could give young high school athletes a piece of advice, what would it be? And the most important thing they need to know and or do?
Ooh, academics.
Absolutely.
First and foremost, academics, just on that side, take it seriously. A lot of my kids are learning now that high school is a piece of cake. I mean, a lot of them came, I get it, we're at junior college, but they're learning like, man, coach, this is hard. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little different. You go to lecture and you got to actually read before lecture to understand what they're talking about. But in the sense of just athletics, play as many sports as you can. My girls think I'm crazy, but I always tell them, they always hear me say, if the ball touches your hand, you should have caught it. They're like, where did you get that from? We've never heard that. I was like, well, my softball coach used to drill that into my head. And I asked my point guards, I was like, does that make sense to y'all? They were like, yeah, because sometimes we'll be dropping dimes and it's just hand, but you're not gonna catch it. Just the biggest thing is just never get complacent. There's always somebody out there working harder than you, somebody out there wanting to take your spot. And like I tell my girls, yes, y'all are a team, but at the end of the day, you got to look at each other in everything that you do and want to win. If I'm going up against you, especially me as a coach, like I said, if I'm in the weight room and I see somebody lifting a little bit more than me, I'm like, yeah, I could be lifting more than her. Let me go ahead and, up my weight a little bit. Or if we're, doing a shooting drill in the gym, I want to make more shots than you make. Just be competitive and never get complacent. Always work. And even me as a coach, that's the biggest thing that I think I've learned, coming into this role as a head coach. I was like, man, I got this. I know what I need to know. And life hit me real quick coming into the position. I felt like I did get complacent. And, a lot of, me and my dad are very close when it comes to sports. That's, a big part of our relationship. And he was just like, not impressed yet, something like that. And I was like, wait a minute, Dad, hold on. And then, after my region tournament, I think that was the biggest turnaround that he saw me make. And he was just like, I see you was finally working. I said, yeah, you kind of pushed me a little bit, but, I did get complacent there for a second and, a little content. And it happens from time to time, but I think that's the biggest thing. And that's the biggest thing that I stress to our girls. Sometimes they'll get out of the habit of coming in to get extra work in on their own. And I'm like, does it really take that much energy to come get 20, 30 extra minutes of shots up or 20, 30 extra minutes of ball handling and everything? I'm like, so you getting complacent on me now? I'm like, nah, coach, I got you. But just don't get complacent. Continue to work hard. There's always something that you can craft. There's always something that you can tweak. There's always something that you can strengthen. There's always something make a weakness a strength. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom and my dad, they're always big on speaking about, as long as you live, there's always going to be competition, and no matter what you're doing, as far as it can be a regular job, it can be playing sports, whatever it is, man, somebody's out there thinking the same thing you're doing, so they're trying to push themselves probably a little harder, and then there's probably somebody else that's pushing themselves way in Alaska or whatever it may be. So I'm glad that you spoke on not being complacent, and that was a great question by April, and we spoke pretty much about everything you can think of, and we kind of want to, revert back to you personally, and just kind of get some personal questions. This is why I kind of started this, so people that don't get to see coaches and them outside of them coaching on the sideline or on the field or whatever it may be, just get to know the coaches personally. Let's start with something simple as in your favorite food.
Ooh, Mexican food. I'm half Hispanic. My granny makes the best Mexican food. I swear by it. Yeah, coming up here to Arkansas, mm, all three of us that are on staff here, like, and everybody's
Yeah.
telling us these Mexican food places to go to. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all right, but I swear by it. Every time I go home, my parents know. They take me to my
Uh,
favorite Mexican restaurant, but any kind of Mexican food.
mm,
Yeah, that's definitely favorite food. So,
I think being from Texas is kind of inbred in you
oh yeah,
overall. So, it's just I went to Vegas one year for AAU, and we went to this Mexican restaurant inside of one of those hotels, and they charge for salsa. I'm like, what?
oh yeah,
How dare you charge? This is part of the beginning of the meal. Like you can't do that kind of stuff. But
oh yeah. We
it's
went out to
different
eat.
there.
Yeah, we went out to eat as a staff, me, our AD, and then our assistant coach, because our assistant coach is assistant for both men's and women's.
uh,
So we all went out to eat one night, and they here at one of the Mexican restaurants, which it's a pretty good restaurant. I give it to them, but they give you like a bottle of salsa, and we all three looked at each other like they must not know we like chips and salsa. They must not know that this is the main course before the other main course.
uh-huh. Yeah, that'll be done.
Yeah.
That'll be done within a second. Favorite athlete of all time, any sport.
Ooh, I might have to go with Becky Hammond on this one, man. Just as a player, like I said, I was able to grow up when she was playing with the San Antonio Silver Stars before they became the
Hmm.
Las Vegas Aces. And, I remember just my dad and my mom always taking me down to watch her play and just her style of play. I mean,
Yeah.
you can definitely see that it has translated over to her being a coach, but, just her poise, her swag, for lack of a better word, when she played. I mean, it's one of those things that you definitely have to idolize. And I don't even know if I could probably mention Becky Hammond to my players right now. They probably wouldn't even know who she is other than the fact that she's a NBA coach. But,
Hmm.
as a player, she was one of the players that I definitely idolized, especially being that point guard role, especially at the time that she was in the WNBA, me being in high school playing the point guard position. Um, I definitely tried to mimic her, idolize her, and, just try to do different things like her. So that's probably favorite athlete of all time on the women's side for basketball. Other favorite athlete would have to be Michael Jordan. After being able to watch the documentary that came out this summer, I am a lot like him. I like to talk a lot, even to my players. It's one of those things. If I'm feeling good, and I'm hitting those threes or getting to the bucket, I'll talk to them. And it does get them going. They understand it. They think it's funny. They take it as fun and games. But sometimes they real life be like, Coach, you're just straight working me. I'm like, yeah, work a little harder. Then they finally start to get it. I'm like, hold on. So, Michael Jordan, and just in the sense in the way he pushed his teammates, and it wasn't only just the championships, but just in the being able, because I was young when he played for the Bulls. I was, God, I don't even know how old I was, but I was very young. I wasn't able to comprehend basketball at that point in time. Yeah, I watched it. But I wasn't able to comprehend it. But being older now and able to watch that documentary, I was able to see a lot of things that I wasn't able to see as a kid. I wasn't able to understand. My girls they're like, you're a lot like him. I'm like, yeah, just a little bit. I was like, I talk a lot, and they're always like, you always just question us and ask us why we did this and why didn't we go, up here or something like that. And it's always like, yeah, that's what good basketball players do. I'm trying to push you to be better. It's not criticism, it's instruction to make you better.
Yeah, constructive criticism is
Yeah.
what it's called. Just like you, I'll get out there and with my players sometimes, and every player I've ever played, they're like 0 for 14 against me, and they be like, man, coach, run it back. I'm like, hey man, you get one chance. That's it. I can't. I got one game, and they want to play like get the rebound. Like, hey man, you miss is my ball. So I kind of favor the rules towards me. So I definitely get where you're coming from. My next question is, when you're not coaching, when you're not watching film, basketball it eats you up, man. It takes away a lot of your time. So when you're not doing that, what are you doing?
Hanging out with family. My boxer. I have a dog. My boxer. His name is Coach. That's my boy. I take him to the park all the time. Very chill. Like to relax, grill. Now that it's college football season, watch college football. Hang out. Be able to go home sometimes. Hang out with family. We're a big grilling family. We go see my grandpa, when I go back home. So, we're that family that likes to sit in the garage or sit outside, and, we have the TV in the garage. Just very chill, not much going on. Like to do a lot of outdoor stuff, paddleboarding, kayaking, and stuff like that when I get the chance to do it. Go hiking a little bit when I get the chance to do it. But like you said, it does consume you. Our off time is during the summer, and it's not really off time. Recruiting, I know for me, with AAU basketball is a big part of the summer for me. So just in between that, like I said, just hanging out with family, trying to just do as many different things and adventurous things as I can. But very chill, not much to it. Very simple person, like I said. Not much to it. Hang out with friends when I get the chance. I'm very fortunate that I get to go home and see them, or go to Dallas and see them, or go down to San Antonio and see them. So definitely a lot of traveling, but it's always good to go home and see those people that you grew up with, and see your family and see your friends.
Yeah,
especially now that we're older. I mean, most of my friends are having kids, and I'm sitting there like, you'd be the last one I thought to have a kid. But it's always fun to see them grow and everything. We've all matured so much in the sense of our career, and just who we are as people, and just starting that next step in our life and whatnot. So, like I said, it's definitely different from when we used to see each other to what it is now. So, but it's definitely nice to get back and see them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it just hit me now that you kind of spoke about your personality and how you are towards your players and the competitive nature, and why you were one of the first people to get a shirt for me. Your your favorite coach, man. I could see it now, just like so. Now,
when I played, even with pickup and everything, like I said, when I was back in high school, I mean, I had a group of friends, and the high school coach at the town that I lived in, she would just open the gym for us. And, they talked a lot. I talked a lot. And I remember one time I was like, I'm your favorite player's favorite player. And they were like, man, get out of here, and all this other stuff. And it's just stuck with me ever since then. So when I saw the shirt, I was like, wait a minute. All right, now I got to get that one. But yeah, that is me.
It makes a lot of sense now. So, one more question. I think you kind of spoke about this earlier. You may have dreams of becoming a D1 coach. What is next for you?
Growing up in I wanted to be a recruiting coordinator / assistant coach for a Division I school. The recruiting aspect is definitely something that I enjoy. I don't know if a lot of coaches see it as a lot of work, but the recruiting aspect, the traveling with it, the sitting in the gym all day, that's something that I definitely enjoy. So like I said, a recruiting coordinator at a Division I school is definitely something that I want to pursue. But after being in the head coach's role for 3 years, I definitely have enjoyed it. So possibly being a head coach, after here, not really too focused on it right now. But like I said, goal is to be a Division I coach, Division II coach. At some point in time, possibly be a head coach at a Division I or Division II school. But like I said, I would love to be a recruiting coordinator. But as far as what's next, I really don't think about it. Just for me, what's next is trying to get this program to where it needs to be. Kind of leave it on better ground than what I got it, and I think we're heading that way. And I think we're in the right direction and the right path. And I just think that's what's next for me. Just making sure that this is where it needs to be before I even think about leaving here.
Okay, I understood. I really hope that you accomplish everything that you're striving for. But sounds like you're living in the moment right now. And I didn't send you these questions, and I always do this. I'm gonna do a couple of rapid fire questions. And it's kind of off the dome. One or two words. And so you spoke about Memphis and Arkansas. We spoke about the Mexican food, but if you had to choose Memphis barbecue, Arkansas barbecue, or Texas barbecue.
Ooh, our staff talks about this all the time. Texas barbecue. They don't believe in brisket up here. Every time I go to a barbecue, I'm like, are y'all gonna have brisket? And they're like, what's brisket? We don't do
brisket, man.
Like, oh yeah, nah, but barbecue up here is pretty good. Ribs up here are probably second to none. But like I said, I'd have to choose Texas barbecue just because they have brisket. I'm a big brisket person.
Okay. I used to be, but getting older, you can't eat that stuff no more.
Oh
yeah. Best point guard ever in the WNBA.
It's a good one. I have to say Diana Taurasi.
Point guard? She's not a point guard. She's a
Is she a point
scorer.
guard? I thought she'd be bringing the ball up sometimes when I be
So I
watching her
mean,
play.
she's a scorer. She's a scorer to me. I think she's the
Damn.
Carmelo Anthony of WNBA.
Yeah. Okay,
She's
you
a
might be right.
scorer. For me personally, and to this day, it's still Sue Bird for me.
I didn't even think about Sue Bird. I forgot she was still in the game.
Yeah, oh my gosh, she's good. And the Storm, I think they're favorites to kind of win it this year.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anybody else. There are others, and Skylar Diggins, she's popular, but Sue Bird's just she just gets it done for me, man. And those UConn players, they're different. So.
Oh yeah, they're very different.
And then my last one, I've asked every coach on here, every person that's been on here. I asked my cousin that's been. She's not even an athlete, but she's an actress. But she was in California at the time. Kobe Bryant's tragic, story and ending.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
it? When I first saw it, my assistant coach, I was watching film. We were about to have film that day. It was a Sunday, I think, when it happened. And I was in here watching film, and my assistant coach came in. He was like, "Have you seen the news?" I was like, "I haven't really been on my phone, so no, I haven't seen anything." He said, "Kobe Bryant died." And I was like, "Man, get out of here."
Yeah.
It's just TMZ, some false report and everything. And then, as I kind of saw it developing and it was true, for me, growing up, I was a big Lakers fan just because of Kobe. I still have my pair of Kobe's that I put on sometimes. I don't think I'll ever get rid of those. But it was tough. It's one of those celebrity deaths that you feel, especially as a women's basketball player. Because he was doing so much for the game, before he passed. He was definitely a big advocate for, just trying to get the game out there and trying to get people to support the game and just kind of really, showing people what the game is about, and then, with Gigi being involved in all that and, seeing her aspirations and everything to be a basketball player, like I said, I kind of, that kind of hit me hard because, like I said, my girls are, like I tell them every time somebody asks me I got kids, I'm like, yeah, I got 12 of them. That's my team. Those are my kids. As much as I tell them not, they call me mom, like, nah, I ain't your mama. But I'll never tell them that. But they are my kids. So like I said, you kind of you see that the reality of it is, you're not promised every day, and like I tell them, with everything going on today in today's world, it takes one senseless act from somebody else to and you're gone. So it really did touch me in that sense because I was just like, man, that could have been easily one of my girls, just something senseless and something just very tragic, act of God that could have happened, and they're gone. So it definitely hit me hard in that sense. And like I said, Kobe was just a big advocate for women's basketball, and it was something that the women's basketball world definitely felt, I think, more than anything. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke about him being, advocating for women's basketball, and it's part of the reason why I've been getting a little closer with women. 3 years ago, I started doing women's AAU. I didn't do it this year because of the situation, but I've getting more and more into it, watching it a little more. I watched when I was a kid, but didn't really understand it. So he was a big reason why I decided to do a lot of things that I'm doing right now. Right. And so, it still stings a little bit. It's like, man, But coming towards the end, I really hope that I have your Twitter handle on there correctly. People that are watching, I really hope that you paid attention to what Coach was talking about, and go follow Arkansas State Mid-South University. Coach is, pushing it forward and making big things happen up there, and I really enjoy, talking to you. And again, for those who are still watching, follow, like, all that good stuff, subscribe, or whatever it may be. Coach, if you got anything else to say, please do. Now's the time.
Just thank you for having me. Hopefully we can talk again. Hopefully next April. We in good shape. I got region championship under my belt, so hopefully.
We can definitely do it again. And I'm so glad that you decided to do this, and I reached out to you. You didn't know me, so you could have been like, oh no. But I definitely appreciate you, man. We'll definitely talk again. So
definitely.
Absolutely. All right, people. We're out of here.